Welcome to the Road to Redemption podcast with your host, Cam Williamson. Each week, Cam sets out to shatter the labels and stigmas associated with mental health awareness by giving life lessons and raw overviews of events happening around the world.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson. Great to be back with you. We're going to start off on some cool updates that I think is cool. The It Ends With Us book, popularly written by Colleen Hoover, is set to become a movie. And it's been set to become a movie for, a while now. And they just cast the cast. So Blake Lively is going to play Lily, and the director, Justin Baldoni, is going to play Ryle. Blake Lively is also co-producing this, so that'll be cool. I think Blake Lively is a perfect match. When you picture Lily, I definitely picture someone like Blake Lively. I've seen Blake Lively across the board in things like Gossip Girl. I've seen her in Disturbia. So those two right there automatically make you go, oh yeah, she could pull this off. I know nothing about Justin Baldoni. With Blake Lively being married to Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is big right now into like the owning everything that you're a part of kind of thing. I think she took some good, counsel there in becoming co-producer, because if you co-produce it and you're starring in it, this thing's going to be a banger. It's backed by Sony. There's a co-production studio that I forget what the name of them was, but it's pretty exciting. Again, I don't know much about that Justin Baldoni guy. He's been a author, director for a while. So if these people, Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively, trust him to not only direct it, but also star in it, co-star in it, I think that this is going to be pretty cool. I still have yet to see like a release date or even when they're going to start filming, but we're obviously getting closer to info like that. Let's talk about one person's opinion today, shall we? I've been doing a lot of book reviews recently, and I feel weird about that because doing the book reviews, every time I sit down to do one, I think it's Edgar Allan Poe's quote of, "Art is meant to be looked at, not criticized," pops into my head, and I go, yeah, that's true. When someone creates something, whether they're writing a book or making a song or whatever it is, creating a podcast, it's very hard to do those things. Some things are harder to do than others. Writing a book is very difficult. So I don't like to be critical of authors, especially because I am so new into that game. I just wrote my first book. But I do have a different appreciation for the effort that it takes. So sometimes I think you can tell when the effort wasn't put in once you become a person who has done whatever it is that you're criticizing. I don't believe you should ever criticize something you've never personally done yourself, which is why I I have no problem criticizing stand-up. I've done stand-up before. It's, again, my first set is still on my channel somewhere. MMA, I used to criticize and review MMA bouts the day after, and I didn't feel okay to do that until I personally fought, so I did that. And everything that I do, all my passions and my interests, I feel like you should fully engulf yourself in the world so you know what you're talking about if you're going to make yourself a voice in that space. But that doesn't mean that my voice means anything to people that don't care, right? In the last book review that I did yesterday, the Michelle Obama one, and this was only a couple, but I had a couple people immediately comment. One of the comments was, well, why are you even talking about her right now? It was a 1-minute clip out of like a 13-minute full book review. And I had started the clip where I try to start all of them where the spoilers are not included. This is just my take on how the book was. Well, part of that was the ending version where I talked about her and Obama's first meeting and their dating, and I said she didn't seem to really fall for him, but she seemed to fall more for Hawaii, the state where he's from. And people were immediately like, well, why are you even talking about her right now? You're just going after someone. And of course, you're picking a black woman of color. And I'm like, I bought and supported her book. I wanted to like it. I gave it a thorough and I think honest and fair review. But people watch a 1 minute clip. And in that clip on another platform, I think it was TikTok, somebody commented and they were like, this is just bad. Do better. And I'm like, you as a human watched a 1 minute clip, obviously didn't read the description saying that it's a book review of her most current book. You saw a 1 minute clip and just went, do better. So one person's opinion, whether it be my own about Michelle Obama's book or the one person who just clearly was out of this world in the conversation, because why am I talking about it? She just wrote a book. She wants people to talk about the book. She probably doesn't want people to criticize it. Sure. I don't want people to criticize my book, but they're going to. Think people aren't criticizing everything I do all the time? Of course. That's a part of doing what all of us do who are any sort of public figure entertainment thing. And that was a part of my criticism of the book was she, as much as she didn't ask to be the first lady of the United States and get all the attention that she got it. And that was the life she chose. So, again, sorry, I've got weird shit in my throat. A lot of times, I feel it necessary to pull the reins back on myself and go, why are we commenting on this? Why are we taking on this story? I felt that deeply when I took on the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. I felt it deeply when I took on the Travis Scott situation. And I did both of those things because in both situations I go, well, there's a target audience for me, being younger people, younger men specifically is who I can speak to the best, who are being deeply affected by these two individuals. I saw people across the country championing mainly Kyle Rittenhouse, and then I saw young people championing Travis Scott after the Astroworld incident. And I sat for as long as This episode is brought to you by Audible.com. Guys, you know that I love to read. You also know that I didn't always love to read. I got into reading by audiobooks. Audible, brought to you by Amazon, is the largest collection of audiobooks and now podcasts. They have original series, they have original music, meditations. Guys, Audible has everything. It's not just books. So, if you want to support the show and you want to get into reading or listening to books, I listen to it a lot while I'm traveling in my car. You could do the same. Click on the link in the description, join Audible today, and you'll get your first month free. Thanks for supporting the show. I felt that I needed to with the idea of making a video about it. What could I say that would actually benefit people at all? That wouldn't just be what the commenters will accuse you of just trying to gain notoriety off a headline or off terrible shit happening, or even worse, off someone else's demise. That would never be my intent. But that can only be felt by people who are willing to look at things with an open mind. When you keep this idea in the back of your head at all times of what stance you're going to take on every video you look at online or every post you see, your life becomes very small. It becomes very small. Like, did I want to instinctually grab Michelle Obama's book? No, because I don't know anything about her. Oddly enough, when I graduated from basic training, she spoke at my graduation. So, like, maybe there was this weird form of respect that I had for her. And again, I had no problem with Obama. I think he did a fine job. Sure, he had his issues, like they all have their issues. But, like, as far as being someone you could feel, I served in the military under Obama. So it was like, I don't know why I grabbed it, but it was one of these things where I was like, I want to experience life from a different perspective. And the best way I could think to do that would be grab the former first lady's Michelle Obama's book and read it and see, like, because I don't think it's a secret that if you were to tally up how I look at life, I would be firmly planted in the middle. I totally understand both sides of most arguments, right? So it wasn't a political thing. I don't like to get involved in politics, and that was the same thing with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. I didn't want to be involved politically in talking about let's ban guns. So when I had to say, as a veteran, that I think that you should have to have extra training and possibly extra credentials to prove that you're of sound mind and ability to have said weapon, I was a little uncomfortable in even saying that. That was a little censorship type to me, where I was like, ugh. The veteran in me doesn't like that. I think that, that part of me goes, well, you should be able to have an AR. If I want to have an AR, it's a rifle, whatever. And I thought that way for a very long time. And it almost killed me, to the part where, like, I drank a lot during that time to try to, like, keep up this persona of, like, rugged edginess. And you're like, okay, what am I really standing for, though? Because now in 2023, when you look at the world the way it is, and we just had a shooting, and I think it was a pistol that was used over the Lunar New Year thing. This was like a 70-some-year-old Asian man attacked other Asian people. I believe it was in California. But we're like, we keep having all these mass shootings. It's becoming more and more of like a notoriety thing, where not only will they be talked about on the news, but there's a good chance Netflix will make a documentary about them. There's this whole subculture that begins to like idealize and somehow sympathize with these people. So I feel a strong responsibility as just a human being on this earth who's participated in this thing for 30 years, and I haven't always done it right. I've used my mouth to bag off in bad ways against people, ideas. I've said hurtful shit. I've probably said bigoted shit before. Just being young, dumb, and not knowing anything outside of growing up in Columbus, Ohio. So it's like, I take what people say and the actions that they take very seriously, because I want to see how do those things match up. And especially if someone is up on a pedestal and they're involved in a lot of different aspects of life, you want to know that that person is doing the best for the world. Now, even the devil's advocate side of me immediately goes, well, who the fuck are you to sit back and judge what Michelle Obama thinks, or how Colleen Hoover wrote her book, or Nicholas Sparks? These are like the top selling authors in the world, and she was the first lady. Who the fuck are you to sit back? And it's like, yeah, that's a valid point. Who the fuck am I? But if we all sat back and took that same approach, what would we have in this world? So what? I don't like something, or I do like something that you don't like. What difference does that actually make if you're not willing to sit in the conversation, which these aren't conversations. The only conversations we can have is you guys commenting in the comment section, and then I can see that. But people don't usually comment unless they're just being like, this fucking sucks, or this is the best thing I've ever seen. There's rarely an in-between, because if you're scrolling through, I'm guessing most people don't have the same type of time that a content creator has, where I can sit there and engage with people. I block out time to engage with people. I think if you make content, you should. You shouldn't just throw your voice out there and be like, oh, I don't care what people think about that. You should take it in, because some criticism will help you. Some criticism is actually... I've had so many episodes of this show where afterwards I've had to sit back and go, was I off on that one? Was I off? Because, I've done this for a long time now. I've done this for almost 5 years. You guys can only see like the last 2, but I've been creating content for a long time. There's definitely moments on this show or past vlogs or whatever where I've said things about diets that I've been on or ways that I've lived my life that I 1000% would not do today. But that's a part of the evolution of the human being. And if nothing else, that was why I started this show, so that when I'm long gone, my kids have literally a digital journal to go back and go, this is who my dad was every day. Like right now, my kids are way too young to understand most of what I talk about, right? Outside of when I watch hockey and shit like that, they like to do that. But mental health, stuff like that, we talk about like, hey, dad has panic attacks. This is what this means for our family, you know? So they get a little bit of why I do what I do, but they're 6 and 4. They have no clue. So hopefully when they're 13, 14, 18, 20s, they can go back regardless of where I am in life and go, well, this is who my dad was through time. Sure, he might have been wrong here, but if you look 2 years down the line, he really worked and grew and opened his eyes on perspective. And that's all I want any of us to do. I'm only trying to be a medium for that to happen. So that way, those that are willing could hear something and go, oh, maybe everything's not that extreme. Maybe everything doesn't have to be so snap, especially this one, oh, fuck that person. Because I think that when everything happened in 2020 and everyone went into their holes and whatever your opinion on that is, I think the worst thing that happened is we all saw each other as enemies. Because if we go out, we're going to get sick, so you stick to your people, and that's it. You don't go outside your bubble. And I think we created like this, we unlocked this like primal thing in everybody where it's like, yo, have you guys ever seen The Croods? Where he's like, fear keeps us safe. We don't go outside. That's what our lives turned into. And we just became Neanderthals again. Bah, 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 bah. Anything I see that I don't know or recognize, I'm just going to bah, 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 bah. Smash it to death. And it's like, yo, we don't live in caves anymore. We live in man-made houses that we live next to our neighbors every single day. Most of us don't know them. Studies show this is the first time in history where like, I think it was like 70% of people in the United States don't know their neighbors, have no relationship with them. And I have a very loose one with like 2. I know the people that live on the side of me. I talk to them because I'm a big one on like, hey, I watch your shit. You keep an eye on mine kind of thing. But like we don't have lunch together. I've made them plates of food before, but like we don't hang out. But it's like you should know your neighbors. We don't do that anymore. I bet most people, unless you live in an apartment or you live in some kind of situation where your family and friends are close by, most people wouldn't feel comfortable just run into their neighbor's house and be like, hey, man, do you guys have just like a glass of milk? I just don't have time to run down to the store real quick. Most people wouldn't do that. Now, in today's day and age, there's like Instacart and all that shit where you really don't have to. But the point being, does one person's opinion mean anything? Sure, just as much as one person's actions mean something. The intention behind them is what we should be searching for. The intentions and the context behind everything. Everything is not a 30-second video. Everything is not a headline. It's a part of content creators' jobs where we have to grab people with headlines, with quick, emotional type videos to get people to even consider watching a 5-minute version of that, let alone a 20-minute whole episode of something where people would actually have to sit with, almost like sitting with a person without interjecting and just listen. Most of us can't do that. I'm still not great at doing that. Why do you think I don't have a co-host? It's not really true. It's just I've thought about the co-host thing more and more because on the Road to Redemption podcast, outside of the vlogs, outside of the book reviews, outside of all that, this show is hard to do solo dolo. It would help me a lot to have someone to bounce off of because then a lot more of your guys' comments of like, Cam, that's cool and all. I see what you're saying, but also this, we could get that in real time. And I think maybe some of that could start to come from like doing live episodes of the podcast and stuff like that. But it has always been my hope that at some point there will be other voices other than mine. I've been reaching out to different people to try to get guests on the show more recently. So there will be changes in that. But yes, one person's opinion does matter, but it only matters as much as you allow it to, right? And it's only up to your own openness and criticism and stuff like that where you'll take anything in. If you just listen to people that tell you you're great all the time, you got a real rough road coming for you. I can promise you that, because I can tell you it feels nice when you get comments. I got one video that's doing decent right now on TikTok, and it's like everyone's like, oh, this is awesome. Blah, blah, blah. That feels good. But I've also learned at the same token, like, one, I didn't work very hard for that. That's a pretty easy layup to do on that kind of platform. And also, there's going to be a video like the Michelle Obama one where people are going to be like, you're a fucking idiot, asshole, bigoted fuck. And you're like, yeah, nah, you know, I asked for this. I did ask for this. Every time I say lights, camera, ready, go, it's like, yeah, I am opening myself up for people's assessment and criticism. That's fine with me. What I want everyone to understand is I think most people should be doing the same things. You should be putting your voices out there. You should be out there more than most people allow themselves to be. I'm not saying you got to post on social media every single day, but the future and the way it's going, if you don't have some kind of personal like brand or some kind of like, I don't want to say showing online, but you got to have some kind of like, this is me, this is what I do. And I don't know. I just think the old way of doing stuff is going to be so far gone. Like, just in the last 4 years, fast food restaurants have changed. The restaurant business in general has changed. Bars, movies, construction type jobs, they all changed. What are people going to do when, and I'm not sitting here to say like when robots are taking over everybody's jobs and there's nothing for the common person to do, but it's like, what are people going to do the next time somebody tells you, oh, you can't go do that job? Whatever it is that you're doing that's just getting you by because you took a job and now you've been in it for a long time. I'm not bashing that life. I'm not. I got mad respect for it. But I'm just saying to people, like, your voice, who you are, means more than just pulling tickets, serving tables, digging holes, whatever the fuck it is you do. The world needs more of you than that. So, like, if you have something, you have an opinion on a book you read, or you watched a game and, you know, a hockey game, and you thought, oh, well, maybe if the boys just did this or whatever, and you put that out there, you don't know what that can do for people. So, yeah, some people could be like, what the hell do you know? You've never even blah, 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 blah. Let those people go. And that's what stops so many people is, like, the opinion of one person telling you that your idea or your show or your song or whatever was dog shit will stop you from even turning on the camera and speaking your honest-to-God truth. Most people, if they commit to doing like a long-term show, you'll watch their opinions and their views will change with the comment sections and go, oh, well, let me just say that then. But that never works because then you end up pleading to the lowest denominator. Why is that? We see all the time on a video especially that gets a high view count, low like count, high comment count. What does that mean? It's got a lot of haters on it. It's got a lot of fucking haters on it. Why? Because hate will always be louder. So that means the people that all those people that watched it, they didn't engage with it and, you know, show support for it, because most people that watch videos that they like don't. They're engaged in the video. So as a creator, we selfishly go, please like and subscribe and do all this. But you guys at home are doing the dishes while you're listening. You go, yeah, I'll do that one day. I've been that person too. So it's like one of those things where if you only listen to the audience that's in front of you currently and you take the opinion of one person and you don't look at the collective of what you're trying to do and be willing to ebb and flow with criticism as well, you're always going to be stuck in this stagnant place in life where you're going, I feel like I should be doing more. I feel like, I like engaging with people in comments. I like talking to people. I think it's important that we do that. When you hear people every election time go, your vote matters, your voice matters. Well, why is that only during election time? It's by people talking about stories and current events and things like that that things get changed. It's only through notoriety and popularity of something that actual change is made. Look at the Dana White situation. When Dana White slapped his wife, they did everything they could to bogart that in the news. That Damar Hamlin situation happened, and there was a few other things that happened at the same time that kind of drew media away from it as well. But it was like, if that doesn't show you guys that the common people's voice matters, because if there was a huge uproar, there's been like 2 or 3 UFC cards since that's happened, and I don't know, I haven't watched them, so I don't know what like the turnout of them has been. But if there were flat zeros across the board on viewership, ticket sales, whatever, someone in the UFC office, in the Endeavor office, would go, oh, we have to do something about this. But it doesn't, because people go, what the fuck does it matter? Oh, what does it matter if I watch it? Everyone else is going to watch it, so what's it matter if I do? It's like, we think it's okay to watch, things burn and just go, well, I'm not the one that set it on fire. I didn't. Yeah, I think it's fucked up what they're doing over there, but I didn't set it on fire, so what's it of my business? It's like, is that really how we're going to be? That's the kids you're going to raise? Those are the communities we're going to build? The opinion of one person doesn't mean shit. I'm not saying we have to listen to our town jester on every topic, but it's like, I don't know. Let the opinions of people come in. I think it's important. We've gotten so closed off. Be vulnerable enough to show the world what you think about it. That's a hard thing to do. And it's a hard thing to do, especially when you've been beaten down by life a lot. Bad shit's happened to you. You haven't always been a great person. You've been young and dumb and made dumb shit. There's a lot of reasons to put yourself in a box and go, well, I don't matter. I'm not one of the people that changes the world. I'll never be a politician or whatever. It's like, you think those people have anything that you don't have? No, they used their voice and they did something about it. I urge you all to do the same thing. I love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next episode.